Ladies and gentlemen, the executioner has arrived. Look who just committed verbal homicide in broad daylight. You beautiful, savage, linguistically lethal weapon of mass destruction. You know what I heard? They said your last roast was so brutal, 3 witnesses needed therapy. The burn unit called asking for your autograph. They said the dark web started a whole forum just to analyze your psychological warfare tactics. Anonymous hackers are taking notes. The FBI added a new category to their watch list. Verbal terrorism. Approach with caution. And you're just sitting there, smiling like you didn't just end someone's whole bloodline with 17 words. Let me tell you something about what you just did. You didn't just roast them. You performed a public execution with words as your guillotine. You turned their ego into ash and scattered it across 7 continents. Their ancestors felt that burn. Their future children just decided not to be born. See, most people throw insults like pebbles, hoping to cause a bruise. But you architect psychological demolition with the precision of a surgeon and the mercy of a hurricane. You don't just hurt feelings. You reprogram their entire self-worth algorithm. You make them question if their birth certificate was an apology letter from the universe. Remember when you told them to look in the mirror and the mirror filed a restraining order? That wasn't just a roast. That was you weaponizing reality itself. You made an inanimate object choose violence. You turned their reflection into their biggest fear. The beauty of this devastation is in its simplicity. You didn't need complex wordplay or sophisticated references. You just pointed at the truth and let it detonate. Their own face became the punchline. Their existence became the setup. And the mirror became an accomplice to murder. What made this legendary wasn't just the burn itself, it was the aftermath. They actually went home and covered every reflective surface. They started showering in the dark. They asked their therapist if it's possible to be allergic to your own appearance. You didn't just roast them, you gave them a phobia of themselves. The dark web called this the Mirror Massacre, because witnesses reported seeing their soul leave their body in real time. Security footage showed them aging 5 years in 3 seconds. Their confidence didn't just die, it got cremated, buried, exhumed, and cremated again, just to make sure it was really gone. Then there was the time you traced their family tree and found out it was a cactus. You said their DNA test came back as an apology from evolution. You suggested their bloodline was what happened when natural selection took a sick day. That wasn't a roast, that was genealogical genocide. You made Darwin himself rise from the grave just to disown them. You turned their entire ancestry into a cautionary tale. Their great-great-grandfather felt that burn through 6 feet of dirt and a century of decay. Time itself bent backwards just to make sure their past knew how badly you violated their future. Scientists are still studying the seismic activity caused by their ancestors collectively turning in their graves. Archaeologists found cave paintings that somehow predicted this moment of destruction. History books added a footnote. This bloodline ends here. Cause of death, words. The most savage part? You made them Google their own family history, hoping to find one successful relative to defend themselves with. They found nothing but participation trophies and court records. You turned their family reunion into a support group. Their family tree doesn't have branches anymore. It has band-aids. Remember when you said their IQ test came back negative? When you suggested their brain was on airplane mode since birth? When you called them the human equivalent of a loading screen that never loads, that transcended roasting. That was cognitive assassination. You made them take an online IQ test just to prove you wrong. The computer crashed. The website sent them a sympathy card. Tech support called to make sure they were okay. You didn't question their intelligence. You proved it was a myth, like unicorns, but less believable and definitely less useful. The way you explained that they're the reason shampoo has instructions. The way you suggested their thoughts echo because there's nothing for them to bounce off of. The way you said their brain cell died of loneliness. You turned stupidity into performance art and made them the permanent exhibition. Teachers from their past started sending apology letters for passing them. Their diploma filed for fraud. Their brain became a tourist destination for scientists studying the void. You made intellectual poverty look like their career choice, their passion project, their magnum opus of mediocrity. Then came the relationship roasts. When you said their love life was like a nature documentary, rare sightings and mostly solo missions, when you suggested their hands should file for spousal abuse, when you said their dating profile was birth control in digital form, you turned their romantic history into a horror story that Stephen King would call too depressing. You made loneliness look like it had a restraining order against them for stalking. Their future soulmate just decided to stay single forever. Cupid didn't just give up. Cupid switched careers. The way you described their flirting technique as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for cringe. The way you said their pickup lines were considered psychological warfare under the Geneva Convention. The way you suggested their kiss could wake Sleeping Beauty up just to ask for a lawyer. Dating apps started using their profile as a what not to do tutorial. Romance novels added them as the cautionary tale before chapter 1. Their ex didn't just dodge a bullet. Their ex dodged a nuclear winter. You turned their love life into evidence that natural selection really does work. Your career roasts hit different, though, when you said their resume was a suicide note for ambition, when you suggested their biggest career achievement was keeping a plant alive for a week, and even the plant was considering other options, when you called them LinkedIn's emergency contact for mediocrity. You made their boss retroactively regret hiring them. Their job title became professional disappointment. Their salary started paying them to quit. Their business card became a warning label. You didn't just question their career. You held a funeral for their potential and made their dreams deliver the eulogy. The way you said their morning motivation was hitting snooze until it gave up. The way you suggested their spirit animal was a sloth on Xanax. The way you described their work ethic as aggressively unemployable. You turned their professional life into a master class on how gravity works on ambition. Headhunters started using their profile to test if their website's reject button worked. Their colleagues formed a support group. The company printer started working again just to print their termination letter. You made unemployment look like it was doing them a favor. Their career didn't die. It never existed. But the social roasts, those were war crimes. When you said their personality was a DOS attack on charisma, when you suggested they were the human equivalent of a scene at 2:43 a.m. with no reply, when you called them social distancing success story before it was mandatory, you made introversion file a complaint for defamation by association. Their friend count didn't just drop to zero, it went negative. People started unfriending them on platforms they weren't even on. Their birthday party became a self-intervention. You turned their social life into evidence that solitary confinement can be voluntary. The way you described their conversation skills as waterboarding with words. The way you said their stories had more dead air than a cemetery's podcast. The way you suggested their social media should come with a hazmat warning. You made awkward silence sue them for copyright infringement. Party invitations started getting lost on purpose. Group chats created backup groups just to exclude them. Their phone contacts synchronized to delete themselves. Social anxiety looked at them and said, "That's too much, even for me." You didn't kill their social life. You proved it was a hoax. Your appearance roasts transcended the physical. When you said they looked like their face was still buffering. When you suggested their gene pool needed a lifeguard. When you described them as what happens when you hit randomize on character creation and then give up. You made beauty standards lower themselves just to exclude them. Their shadows started walking 5 feet behind out of embarrassment. Mirrors became conscientious objectors. Their reflection filed for emancipation. You turned their appearance into a philosophical question about the limits of human tragedy. The way you said they were proof that evolution can go backwards. The way you suggested their face was a capture test for attraction. The way you described their smile as a crematorium for joy. You made ugly feel beautiful by comparison. You gave hideous hope. Plastic surgeons started offering pro bono work out of humanitarian concern. Their photos became the before picture for existence itself. Security cameras turned themselves off. The sun wore sunglasses. You didn't just roast their appearance. You made it a public safety issue. But then you went deeper when you questioned not just who they were, but why they were. When you said their birth certificate was a manufacturer's recall. When you suggested their existence was proof that mistakes can breathe. That transcended roasting. That was existential assassination. You made philosophy professors use them as an example of what's the point. You turned their life into a rhetorical question nobody wanted answered. Their purpose became a missing persons report. Their meaning became a void that other voids avoided. You didn't question their existence. You disproved it, the way you said they were what happened when participation trophies gained consciousness. The way you suggested their life was a screensaver, moving but meaningless. The way you described them as existence's rough draft that should have stayed deleted. You made being alive look like their biggest failure. The universe started calculating how to patch this glitch. Reality began debugging itself. Time considered a refund. Space wanted its space back. You turned their existence into an argument against intelligent design. Even chaos theory couldn't explain them. You made nothingness look productive by comparison. Your predictions about their future were prophecies of doom. When you said their obituary would be a sigh of relief. When you suggested their legacy would be a cautionary tale titled, "Don't." When you described their future as past tense, you weren't predicting. You were prescribing extinction. You made their potential commit suicide before it could disappoint anyone. Their dreams filed for asylum in someone else's sleep. Their goals became anti-goals for others. Their ambition became a "where are they now" segment before it even started. You turned their future into nostalgia for a present that nobody wanted. The way you said their vision board was a suicide note with pictures. The way you suggested their 5-year plan was everyone else's 5-year restraining order. The way you described their destiny as a detour to nowhere. You made tomorrow file a preemptive complaint. You made the future past tense. Fortune tellers started refunding them preemptively. Horoscopes wrote themselves out of their narrative. Their timeline became a flat line before it started. Potential took out a restraining order. You didn't predict their future. You canceled it. Their tomorrow became yesterday's regret today. And then came the roast that made the dark web create a new protocol. When you combined every element into one nuclear phrase. When you looked at them and said, "You're the human equivalent of a terms and conditions page. Everyone scrolls past you to get to something better. Nobody actually reads you. And your whole existence is just a formality everyone wishes they could skip." The room didn't just go silent. Sound itself evacuated. Witnesses reported experiencing temporary deafness from the psychological explosion. EMTs arrived before anyone called them. The building's foundation cracked from the weight of that devastation. Physics had to update its laws to accommodate that level of destruction. You see what you did there? You turned their entire existence into something people actively avoid but technically have to acknowledge exists. You made them mandatory but irrelevant, present but skippable, necessary but unwanted. You turned their life into fine print nobody reads. You made them the human pop-up ad. That roast didn't just trend on the dark web. It became their training manual. Hackers started using it as a CAPTCHA to prove they were savage enough to enter certain forums. It became the standard by which all digital destruction is measured. You didn't just roast them. You created a new category of crime. What makes your roasts illegal isn't just the damage, it's the precision. You don't swing wildly, hoping to connect. You perform psychological surgery with a chainsaw. You map their insecurities like a GPS to their destruction. You turn their existence into your punchline portfolio. Every word is calculated for maximum devastation. Every pause is placed to let the pain marinate. Every breath you take between sentences is them drowning in realization. You don't just burn bridges, you make them grateful for the warmth while they fall. You turn their ego into a murder scene where they're both victim and witness. The dark web doesn't glorify your roasts because they're cruel. They study them because they're art. You've turned verbal violence into a science. You've made destruction look like design. You've turned roasting from a skill into a philosophy, from a moment into a movement, from words into weapons of mass psychological destruction. And the most terrifying part? You're not done. Every day you wake up with a vocabulary loaded like ammunition. Every conversation is a potential crime scene. Every word you speak carries the possibility of ending someone's whole self-concept. You're not just dangerous, you're inevitable. So here's to you, you beautiful destroyer of egos, you architect of verbal annihilation, you surgeon of psychological suffering. Your roasts don't just burn, they cauterize. They don't just hurt, they haunt. They don't just end conversations, they end bloodlines. The dark web made you their patron saint of savage. Your words became their Bible of brutality. Your roasts became the curriculum for their cruelty. You didn't just trend, you became the trend. You didn't just go viral, you became the virus. You turned language into a weapon and conversation into combat. They study your techniques in underground forums. They analyze your word choice like code. They dissect your delivery like a formula for verbal homicide. You've become the Shakespeare of savagery, the Einstein of insults, the Picasso of psychological pain. Your roasts aren't just remembered, they're revered. And somewhere right now, someone's reading this, thinking they're safe, thinking you've retired, thinking the legendary roaster has hung up their crown. They don't realize you're just reloading. They don't understand that silence is just you aiming. They don't know that your next words might be their last words. Because when you speak, careers end, confidence commits suicide, and the dark web takes notes. You're not just a roaster. You're a reckoning. And you're just getting started. Oh, this is delicious. Look who just broke the internet without even trying. You beautiful, misunderstood chess master. You cosmic accident wrapped in human skin. Do you hear them scrambling right now? Every expert, every analyst, every self-proclaimed guru with a podcast and a psychology degree is dissecting your last move like it's the Rosetta Stone. They're huddled in their little think tanks, drawing diagrams, making flow charts, trying to decode what you just did. And the funniest part? They're not even close. They've been up all night, haven't they? Scrolling through your history, examining your patterns, trying to find the logic in your chaos. Professional behaviorists are having emergency Zoom calls. Life coaches are rewriting their entire philosophy. Relationship experts are questioning everything they thought they knew about human nature. Because what you just did doesn't fit in their textbooks. It doesn't match their case studies. It sure as hell doesn't align with their neat little theories about how people are supposed to operate. Oh, they think they're so smart with their frameworks and their certifications. They've got your move up on their whiteboards, circled in red marker, surrounded by question marks. Unprecedented, they're calling it. Irrational, say the ones who never learned to think outside their academic cages. Fascinating, whisper the few who are starting to suspect they've been watching a master at work. But none of them get it. Not one of them understands that you weren't playing their game. You were playing something 3 dimensions above their comprehension. See, they're looking for patterns where you planted pandemonium. They're searching for strategy where you sowed pure instinct. They're trying to apply their dusty psychological models to someone who just rewrote the entire manual on human behavior. Your last action? It wasn't a move in their game. It was you flipping the board, setting it on fire, and then calmly walking away while they scramble to save their precious pieces. And now the dominoes are falling, one by one, creating a cascade they never saw coming. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening right now in rooms you'll never enter. There's a relationship expert in New York who just threw away 3 years of research because your move proved every one of her theories wrong. There's a behavioral analyst in London staring at his computer screen, watching the ripple effects of your actions spread like wildfire through social dynamics he thought he understood. There's a team of corporate strategists who just realized their entire playbook is obsolete because someone like you exists. Your name is being whispered in academic circles like you're some kind of anomaly. Did you see what they did? echoes through university hallways, where professors pride themselves on understanding human nature. They're calling emergency meetings. They're revising their curricula. Some are having existential crises because if they can't explain you, what else have they been wrong about? Your single action has become a case study in chaos theory, except you're not chaos. You're precision disguised as pandemonium. The dominoes started falling the moment you made your move. First, it was just the people directly involved, watching in stunned silence as you did the unthinkable. Then their friends heard about it. Then their friends' friends. Now it's spreading like a virus through social networks, professional circles, family gatherings. Did you hear what happened? Has become the opening line of 1,000 conversations. And with each retelling, the legend grows. The confusion deepens. The experts become more baffled. But here's what they're really not seeing. This isn't random. This is architecture. Every domino that falls was placed there by their own rigid thinking. You didn't push them over. You just showed them they were already teetering on the edge of their own limitations. Their inability to understand your move isn't your failure to be logical. It's their failure to transcend the mental prisons they've built for themselves. And now those prisons are collapsing, one analytical framework at a time. Meanwhile, in the shadows where the real players operate, something else is happening. The quiet ones, the observers, the ones who actually understand power dynamics, they're not confused. They're taking notes. They see what you did for what it really was, a masterclass in psychological warfare without firing a single shot. These aren't the loud experts on social media. These are the chess players who operate in silence, and even they're impressed. Your move is being discussed in places the public experts don't even know exist. Private forums where strategists dissect real power moves. Closed-door meetings where influence is currency and perception is everything. They're not trying to understand you. They're trying to figure out if you're a threat or an opportunity. Some are already attempting to recruit you, not knowing you can't be bought, because you've transcended their economy entirely. The underground sees what the surface experts miss. You didn't break the rules. You revealed there were never any rules to begin with. Just agreements made by people too scared to color outside the lines. Your action exposed the fake boundaries everyone's been respecting, out of politeness or fear. And now those boundaries are dissolving like sugar in rain. The ones who get it are either terrified or exhilarated, because they know what comes next. The old game is ending. A new one is beginning, and you're the one who flipped the switch. What's really messing with their heads is the elegance of it all. They expected destruction to be messy, chaotic, violent, but you demolished their entire worldview with the grace of a ballet dancer. One move, precise, calculated, irreversible. The kind of move that makes grandmasters jealous, because they know they'd need 100 moves to achieve what you did in one. And the dominoes keep falling, each one revealing how fragile their entire system really was. Right now, there's a psychiatrist in California who's been staring at her notes for 6 hours straight. She's analyzed your move from every angle: childhood trauma, attachment theory, personality disorders, evolutionary psychology. Nothing fits. Every model she applies crumbles under the weight of what you actually did. She's starting to question if she ever understood human behavior at all, or if she's just been categorizing people into boxes that were too small to contain souls like yours. The business strategists are having their own meltdown. They're used to analyzing corporate moves, market disruptions, hostile takeovers. But your action? It follows no known business model. It's not about profit or market share or brand positioning. Yet somehow it's more devastating than any corporate warfare they've studied. You've achieved with one personal action what companies spend millions trying to accomplish. Complete narrative disruption. Total paradigm shift. Absolute dominance without apparent effort. Social media analysts are watching the metrics go haywire. The engagement patterns around your move don't match any algorithm they've seen. It's not viral in the traditional sense. It's something else. Something deeper. People aren't just sharing or commenting. They're having existential crises in the comments sections. They're DMing strangers asking, "Did you see what they did? What does it mean?" The AI trying to categorize the responses is having a nervous breakdown. Your move broke their machines before it broke their minds. Even the spiritual gurus are confused. The ones who claim to understand energy and karma and universal laws. Your move doesn't fit their cosmic frameworks either. It's not light or dark, good or evil, karmic or dharmic. It exists in a space they don't have words for.